Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Awesome. So, first up, we do not have any news today for D&D. Again, kind of makes sense. We're coming off of that Fizzbands week, so we don't really have anything new to talk about in terms of news from Wizards or D&D necessarily. We are getting Strixhaven in a little bit over a month, so I am sure they're going to start some hype for that in the coming week, if not in the next 2 weeks. So be looking out for that, but for now, we don't actually have anything. News on our part, us here at this wonderful little thing we've created here. We ended up having a donation of just over $100 to the Trevor project in honor of Spirit Day. Thanks to you all. So thank you guys so very much for all of your support in that. It means the world, and I'm so glad that we were able to send them a donation and just do a little bit more good in the world, because really that you really should want to. So thank you guys so much for that. I really appreciate it, and I am so glad that we were able to do that. In terms of D&D streams that we have going on today, on twitch.tv/DND at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Candlekeep Mysteries, and then on the same channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Into the Mist. So if you're keeping up with either of those, go check that out. I haven't put the call out for it in a little while, but if you know of D&D streams that I should be talking about or that you think I should be plugging on this here, let me know, because I want to expand past just like, the really big ones and the ones that are happening on the actual D&D channel. So please let me know if you know of any D&D streams that you think I should be plugging, because again, I'd like to build out like a full almost calendar schedule where we can just sort of go and look at it and be like, okay, well, this is who is playing today, and it's a list of 40 different people. That'd be really awesome in my mind. But that is everything I have for news and streams for T&D today. I am in my sweater mug because it is after Halloween, which I like starting Christmas early, but I know a lot of people don't. So I have sort of like in my head turned the immediate portion of time right after Halloween into cozy season instead of anything else. So it's cozy season right now in my brain. And inside of this, where did I put it? There it is. I have a vanilla chai from Bigelow. Bigelow is one of my favorite brands for bag tea. I don't really have a good reason for it. I just really enjoy it. And I'm not usually a chai fan, but this one I really do enjoy. Oh, man. That was a little hotter in the throat than I expected it to be. Took a bigger gulp than I wanted to. Not the point. Today, we are getting into it, and we are talking about monks, which is so fun. Monks are a wild class. Honestly, they range from being either one of the best or one of the worst, depending upon how they're built, how they're played, that sort of thing. And mechanically, they have a lot going on for them. So let's talk about it and let's get into it, because we have a lot to cover today. If you are unaware, monks are your unarmed fighters. They fight and they use a spiritual power called ki that they get at level 2. We'll talk about that when we get to level 2. There's stuff at level 1 first. But they are a favorite of quite a few people that I know, actually. I feel like I know more monk mains than I know cleric mains. So that's actually kind of surprising to me. But that's not really the point. So at first level, you get your unarmored defense and your martial arts. So your unarmored defense is exactly what it sounds like. Like we talked about with Barbarian, they get the only other instance of unarmored defense in the classes. That's the word I'm looking for. This unarmored defense, instead of using your Constitution modifier, uses your Constitution modifier, uses your Wisdom modifier. So it is 10 plus Dexterity plus Wisdom for your armor class if you are not wearing armor as a monk. You also pick up your Martial Arts, which is a die that you use in place of the 1 you get from your unarmed attack that scales with you as you level. And you can add your dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier to attacks made with your martial arts weapons, your unarmed strikes. So starting at second level, then you pick up Ki, which I mentioned is kind of like your bread and butter for this whole thing. Yeah, like you punch stuff, but Ki is really sort of, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Also at second level, with that Ki, you pick up 3 different options. You pick up Step of the Wind, you pick up Flurry of Blows, and you pick up Patient Defense. Step of the Wind lets you essentially dash/disengage as a bonus action. Patient Defense allows you to dodge as a bonus action, and Flurry of Blows allows you to make 2 extra unarmed attacks as a bonus action on your turn. It's important to note that with the martial arts, you can also make an additional unarmed strike as a bonus action on your turn. So Flurry of Blows allows you to make 2 instead of the 1 that you are normally allotted with your martial arts. You also get your unarmed movement. As long as you are not wearing armor or a shield, your movement speed increases by 10. So you starting off at level 2, you can have a movement speed of, depending upon your race, up to 50 if you are playing a race with a base speed of 40. Moving on to your third level stuff, you pick up your monastic tradition, and you pick up deflect missiles, which allows you to use your reaction to try and stop a missile that is coming at you, some kind of flying projectile. You can reduce the damage of that projectile by 1d10 plus your dexterity plus your monk level, and if you reduce it to 0, you actually catch it and can spend a key point to throw it back at the person that was attacking you, which is pretty cool. At 4th level, you pick up Slow Fall, which allows you to reduce fall damage by 5 times your monk level, which is crazy because that means starting off at level 4, you can reduce falling damage by 20 points. I had to stop and do math there real quick. Which is really fantastic because the way that fall damage works in 5th edition is it is 1d6 for every 10 feet you fall, up to a maximum of 20d6 technically, if you were playing with that kind of cap on it. So you're looking at, a good, what is it, like 50-ish foot fall? If you're taking 50-foot fall, you're taking 5d6 is going to be, oh boy, that's hard. I don't know, it's like 30 damage or something. You're going to be taking a little bit of damage instead of a bunch of damage. Starting at 5th level, you pick up your extra attack, as most martial classes do, as well as Stunning Strike, and your martial arts die increases to a d6. So now, instead of rolling a d4 for all of your unarmed attacks, you're rolling a d6. Stunning Strike allows you to attempt to stun a target whenever you hit them with an attack, and you spend a key point to attempt to stun them, and they have to make a Constitution saving throw against your key save DC, which is calculated just like a spell save DC using Wisdom. And so you can put that on every single attack that you have in there, which is great because as soon as something is stunned, then you get advantage on attacks against it, and you keep going. And that stun lasts until the end of your next turn, I believe. Moving on to 6th level, you get your key empowered strikes, and your unarmed movement goes up by another 5. So you're at 15 additional feet of movement for your unarmored movement. Your key empowered strikes count as magical or your unarmed strikes then with key empowered strikes count as magical for the purposes of overcoming resistances, which is good. Means you can punch ghosts. You can punch a bunch of other stuff too, but like you can punch ghosts. At 7th level, you pick up Evasion and Stillness of Mind. Evasion is honestly one of my favorite abilities in the entire game. I wish that there was a way to get it in other classes, but I understand why it is limited to monks and rogues. They are like your core super dexterity based classes, and it's really cool. Evasion, if you don't know, because we haven't actually talked about rogues yet, is the ability to, when you make a dexterity saving throw, take half damage on a fail or no damage on a success, as opposed to full and half. So that's pretty cool. Then Stillness of Mind allows you to take an action to remove one charm or fear effect on you, which is awesome. Like, if you are not being, like, essentially dominated, you have the ability to just go, no, I'm done with that now. And it takes your action, but you get to just do that, and you're just done with it then, which is fantastic. At 9th level, you pick up your unarmored movement improvement, which you would think is more speed, right? No. So your speed just sort of increases as you go here. The unarmored movement improvement here lets you run across liquid surfaces or up vertical surfaces. Obviously, if you are still like standing on a vertical surface when your movement is over, you fall because you don't have like spider climb, but you can just straight up the wall, which is fantastic. And at this point, your movement speed can be up to 45 plus action dash plus bonus action step of the wind to get you a grand total of 135 feet if you have picked something with that's if you pick something with a base speed of 30 too. So it can actually be up to 55 if you pick something with a base speed of 40. Not the point. At 10th level, you pick up Purity of Body, and your unarmored movement speed goes up to 20 feet additional. So you now have 20 feet on top of your normal movement speed. Purity of Body allows you to, or it doesn't allow you to, it makes you immune to poison and disease. Straight up. Just no poison, no disease. That means no poison damage. That means no poison condition. And no disease, obviously. But the poison condition really, really sucks when you get it. So it's a good thing to be immune to. At 11th level, your martial arts die bumps up to a D8. So now you're rolling D8s for every time you punch something. At 13th level, you pick up Tongue of Sun and Moon, which allows you to communicate with any creature that is speaking a language in verbal speak. Yeah, sure. That didn't really make a whole lot of sense, but we're going to go with it. It allows you to talk in any, talk to and talk in any language and be understood with the other person, even if you don't normally share that language. Doesn't allow you to read and write, but allows you to communicate verbally with it. There we go. I think I got there eventually. At 14th level, you pick up Diamond Soul, and your unarmored movement speed goes up to 25. So now you have 25 feet on top of your normal speed. And Diamond Soul allows or gives you proficiency in all saving throws, and you get the ability to re-roll a saving throw by spending a key point, which is phenomenal. It's really, really phenomenal. I don't really have anything else to say on that. That's just great. At level 15, you pick up Timeless Body, which makes you unable to be aged magically, and you don't feel the fragility of old age. You can still die of old age, but you're strong until the day you die, pretty much, which is fantastic. At 17th level, your martial arts die bumps up to a D10. That's where it maxes out, so now you're dealing a D10 damage every time you hit something. At 18th level, you pick up Empty Body, and your unarmored movement speed bumps up to 30, which is the most that it goes up. So now you have, if you have a base speed of 30, you have doubled your speed just for not wearing armor. An Empty Body allows you to spend 4 key points to go invisible, cast invisibility on yourself, and gain resistance to all damage but force damage while you are invisible in that way. Or you can spend 8 key points to cast Astral Projection, but not bring any companions with you. So both of those are really good. Like, really, really good. And finally, at 20th level, you pick up Perfect Self. When you roll initiative with 0 key points, you gain 4 key points, which by the time you hit level 20 is not that many key points, I guess, because it's less than a quarter of the ones that you have. But it's still awesome, because that means that you don't have to try and ration for the beginning of every fight necessarily. But you get your key points back on a short rest, I believe, which means that you don't really need to, like, if you are going into something with no key points, you have blown through them pretty hard. So that is everything you get for leveling up with a monk. Let's talk about the subclasses real quick here, and we're just going to kind of blow through these as fast as I can, because I think that is the right way to do these, at least because of the way they are. So first up, you have the Way of Mercy Monk. This is your like healer almost build, but at the same time it can be your death dealing build, which is honestly pretty cool. I really like the Way of Mercy. I think that it should get more love than it actually does, because I don't really see a whole lot of it out in the universe. People who play monk, it seems like a lot of times, are more interested in just dealing some damage, which is great and all. But me when I play, because I think it's because I'm a DM, I really like playing support builds and stuff like that, and so I just really want to be able to give as much support as I go through the game. And also, you essentially this one when you hit the highest level, you essentially get to bring people back from the dead for key points, which is fantastic. So healer, phenomenal, I think. But again, you can heal or harm people with it, and you can substitute it as like a bonus action. It's pretty cool. We have the Shadow Monk is your assassin / your mobile monk in my mind, because you can like teleport between shadows, and you like the whole point is that you live in the darkness. It's kind of Batman-y, if I'm being honest. It's kind of Batman-y, which is pretty cool. But they are your assassin, and because of their ability to like snap between points, they are a lot more mobile than even other monks are. Even though monks are one of the most, if not the most, mobile class. Next up is the Way of the Ascendant Dragon, which actually just became official material in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. I did not actually think that was when I sort of planned out where I was going to be talking about different classes. I didn't think that was a thing necessarily, so I'm really excited that it is one. Way of the Ascendant Dragon is a super fun monk class. It is written under like a very specific circumstance almost, but it is not necessarily all that situational. I just have written down in my notes Dragon's Fury, because that's kind of what it is. Like, you take on a bunch of different aspects of dragons as you go through, like the ability to fly, breath weapon, all that, and I think that you definitely should give it a read, if nothing else. Next up, you have the Astral Self, the Way of the Astral Self. This one, in my mind, is your bruiser, because sort of like their core features that they get to summon astral arms around them to help, like, beat down on stuff, so that's pretty cool. Next up is the Way of the Drunken Master. I think, in my mind, placing a Way of the Drunken Master monk in the center of the fray is the best place for them to be, and there are not many classes that have that ability, right? Just being able to get sort of picked up and dropped in the center of a group of enemies, I think is phenomenal. Their abilities really sort of lend themselves to being surrounded or being sort of like all up in the thick of everything. And Monk as a class is, again, a martial class, so they need to be sort of up in the face of everything. But it's such an interesting build, and I think it works really well. Way of the Four Elements is up next. This one is, it's not the best by any means. It's not bad, I think. It definitely could use quite a bit of love, and I'm hoping that in the 5.5 that we're getting, the Player's Handbook rewrite, it does get some love, because it definitely needs it. This is sort of like their attempt at an Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of build, and it just falls flat. It depends on a lot of key points to do your core ability features, as opposed to being able to just kind of like do some stuff. And the core ability features that they give you aren't great necessarily. they're not the best, and so they are interesting, and I have played a Four Elements monk and had a good time with it, but they're not my favorite after like being exposed to the rest of it and really gaining a heavy understanding of the game's mechanics. It's not great, but it's not the worst subclass across all classes by any stretch. We talked about that one last week, I think. I really don't like Purple Dragon Knight. Not the point. Next up is Way of the Kensai, which is your monk that deals with weapons. This monk actually has the ability to use weapons. Well, all monks have the ability to use weapons, but this one like uses your martial arts die for it. It is specifically gives you proficiency with like different ranged weapons and martial weapons that like give you. You can like shoot a longbow as part of your monk weapon, or you can like stab someone with a dagger as part of your monk weapon. It's pretty cool. All of your monk weapons there utilize your martial arts die then, which is actually really, really cool. Next up is the Way of the Long Death. This one is sort of like the negative side of the Hand of Mercy, but like ramped up quite a bit. us, because I just have written in my notes Reaper, and that's kind of the vibe that you get from it. They are that they send people to their death. That's kind of their thing. It's pretty cool. Next, you have the Way of the Open Hand Monk, and I love the Way of the Open Hand Monk. They are honestly so cool. And they are sort of your quintessential monk. They're just your monk that punches stuff, uses no weapons, no armor, that sort of thing, and they're pretty awesome, honestly. And if you want a good example of, actually, know what? I'll give examples when I finish this real quick. Next up, and finally, we have the Way of the Sun Soul. This one I have written down as Blaster because you essentially can just like shoot sunbeams out of your hands at stuff, called your Searing Arc Strike, which is a really cool concept. I have not like explored this one super in depth, so I'm not super familiar with how it like works and everything like that. But it seems like a really cool concept, and I think, I don't know for sure, but I think one of my players might be about to like take this path, so I'll actually get to see it firsthand, which will be pretty cool. If he doesn't, then that's fine too. He can do what he wants. It's his character, but I'm excited to see what happens if he does pick that route. If you want examples of some of these, because there have been quite a few of them through some of the more popular D&D shows, so if you don't want spoilers for things like Critical Role, Dimension 20, and I guess we're going to go with Critical Role and Dimension 20. We're going to skip to the part where I'm drinking out of this cup again. I'll give you a second to go ahead and do that. Okay. So, in Dimension 20, Emily Axford plays a drunken master monk in the first season of Unsleeping City, which then becomes, I believe, a shadow monk. If you want to see that, it's her character arc, essentially. Then you have, in Critical Role, obviously, Bo is a monk, but she is a Cobalt Soul monk, and I didn't talk about them because they are Critical Role specific. And I know I talked about Gunslinger last week, but Cobalt Soul is, I think, a little bit more specialized than that. But Earthbreaker Groon in the first season of Critical Role Campaign 1 is a Way of the Open Hand monk. So if you want to see what a high-level Way of the Open Hand monk can do, go check out the end of Campaign 1. Not like the end, but like towards the end where he, fights Grog and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, those are my examples. Well, that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. Thank you so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much to my patrons in particular. You guys are the ones that make the show possible. And thank you again for your support of the Trevor Project in this last month. I really appreciate it. If you are able to and want to support the show, there is a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. But that is everything, I believe. So come back tomorrow, where I don't know exactly what I'm going to be talking about yet. I need to decide on that. But I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, keep on rolling.